So we'll go ahead and get started. Just want to welcome everyone for joining us. Thank you for taking your time out to participate with us in our monthly community input meeting. A special welcome for anyone joining us for the first time today. My name is Ayabami Bell Torrance. I am the Marketing Outreach Coordinator for Ddot. And we'll go ahead and get started with our introductions, and I'll start with our Executive Director.
Yes, indeed. Welcome, everybody. Michael Oglesby, Executive Director of Transit. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
Okay. And then I'm not going to go any other particular order, but once I call you, if you just say your full name and who you are. So Larry Smith.
Good afternoon, everybody. Larry Smith, Assistant Director of Operations.
Okay. Other Larry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Larry Luckett, Assistant Director of Vehicle Maintenance.
Okay. Elias.
Good evening, Elias Fisher from Grants.
Brian.
Good afternoon. This is Brian Fisher from Ddot Compliance.
Pam.
Pamela King from Ddot Compliance.
Ricky.
I'm Ricky Emaker. I'm the Manager of Data and Reporting.
Gina.
Gina Schofield, Scheduling and Service Development Department.
And Lieutenant Arnold.
Lieutenant Ed Arnold, Operations Lieutenant, Transit Police.
Okay. Mickey, were you still there? Or is there anyone else who I missed who joined us? Will you go ahead and introduce yourselves, please? Okay. So if that's everyone from our staff, again, thank you. We're going to go ahead and get straight into our meeting rules, which are pretty simple. We just will stick to the agenda that's available on our website. Our community comments will come after our departmental updates. And we just ask that everyone be respectful of the 2 minutes time that you're allowed. We ask no personal attacks, no foul language. And we'll go ahead and get started. I'll turn it back to our Executive Director if you have any updates or statements that you would like to provide.
No, not at this time. Again, we've been moving along. Some people had saw some the articles and the information request about barriers and whether we're going to have barriers. So I figure I might as well talk about it now just a little bit. We have never veered away from wanting barriers. As a matter of fact, it was one of the first things that I started pushing for when I came here. We're continuing to push for it, and we're moving forward. It's in the procurement process right now. The intent is to get the barriers on board and on as quickly as possible. Typically takes about 4 months after the procurement process is all said and done. So we're going through the process right now. There's been, we don't expect any delay from the original announcement of getting these barriers in by the beginning of next year. Of course, we're going to try to push even quicker, but the process is the process and we have to go through it. So I just wanted to provide clarity there. Also, I think there was a question about whether we were saying we were going to give the drivers face masks or not. The answer to that question is that really wasn't addressed. The face masks were mentioned during a meeting with the mayor's press conference, but the health department was talking about it in general. I think that got jumbled up. With that being said, I'm actually, it was interesting. So I said, well, you know, why don't we look into it to see whether face masks do make sense. Originally, my thought is if you drive with a face mask on with it contoured, it could impair your vision. So from a safety standpoint, we really have to look at it. But if it's a matter of walking around with it during your spread time or during your off time on property, I don't see it as a problem. So we're looking to address that. So those are the two things I just wanted to touch on because I was just talking about it last night. That's it.
All right, thank you for those updates.
Sure.
We're going to move now to operations. You can give us any updates that you have.
Sure, not a problem. No major updates from operations at this time. The biggest piece of course, is to address that we hear you via multiple streams of that we receive all of our information, whether it's through customer service, whether it's through the Ddot feedback line, whether it's through call straight to our terminal. Please understand that we hear you guys, that your concerns are not going on deaf ears. Issues that we are facing within operations, of course, we are trying to fix them as we go. There are a couple of different nuances in the pipeline that we are trying to do to address the issues that you all are having with our scheduled bus service. Of course, it's nothing new to the public, nothing new to you all in regards to our lack of drivers, which is not a new issue that we are facing. Of course, it's just compounded a little bit more throughout this COVID time frame with more drivers being out due to this current pandemic. But nevertheless, it's not enough to just say that we are working, but it's also enough to as to what we are doing behind the scenes to make it happen. Sometimes a lot of those things are lost in the shuffle due to what you guys see out there on the road. But please understand that we do hear you. We have a couple of different things in place that we could see some improvement in the coming weeks, some different avenues that we are looking at to try to make this thing work a little bit better. Schedule wise, it's not necessarily changing anything amongst the schedule, but more so improving what's out there and trying to make sure that it's at least consistent to what you guys are expecting to see of us. Again, as we can say, just hang in there with us and continue to call, continue to give us your feedback so that way we can make sure that we're being more responsive, doing everything that we have to do on our end. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to scheduling. Do you have anything for us tonight? Scheduling development. You're on mute.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. I was trying to get off of mute. At this time, there's nothing going on. We're just trying to recreate a schedule to assist operations. We're doing a lot of training on our new system, and that's about it right now.
Okay, thank you. Data and reporting.
Well, the technology upgrade is progressing. We are working diligently with our vendors. I know there's a lot of things that are factors that go into how long this technology upgrade has taken. We do apologize. I know that everybody is looking forward to the tech upgrades that we have on board as well as at the terminals. So if, just hang in there. We'll keep you updated as they come along. I know that one of Mr. Ogilvy's first and foremost requests that he wanted to have fulfilled, we heard you loud and clear when it came to the transit app. We're monitoring that on a daily basis, making sure that that's an asset for everybody who's riding out there, and look forward to seeing some more of the technology go into place. But that's pretty much it right now. Just trying to keep also ahead of different factors that go into making ridership that much safer overall. So please know that we're working behind the scenes on that as well.
All right, thank you, Ricky. Let's move on to Transit Police.
Things are going well at Transit Police. All of our officers are back healthy and working diligently every day. If I could give a couple of thank yous to Miss Bird, Mr. Platt, Mr. Easton, and Mr. Dolly. We've been inundated with several requests from the Detroit Police Department for video polls. Not all of them are very easy to track down the coach. They'll say, we're looking for a coach at Woodward at 7 o'clock at night. Well, that could be 10 to 15 coaches. And Ms. Bird has done a great job, and Mr. Platt, Mr. Easton, Mr. Dolly at the terminals have done a great job getting the coaches available to me when they can. I know it's very difficult for them. So we're working hard to do that. Otherwise than that, everything seems to be going very well with Transit Police.
Great, thank you, Lieutenant Arnold. And compliance.
Good evening, everyone. This is Brian Fisher from Compliance Team. We're still working diligently through our ADA, our DBE, our drug and alcohol, and most of all our Title VI. The one thing that we really want to make sure that everyone knows is that Ddot stands firm to its Title VI Act of 1964, of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that states that no person in the United States on the basis of race, color, or national origin shall be denied the benefits of, excluded from participation in, or discriminated against from any program or activity that receives federal financial assistance. And because Ddot receives federal financial assistance, we want to make sure that nobody that comes in contact with our our facilities or with our buses or anything like that has been discriminated against. If you do feel that you have been, we have multiple ways that you can go ahead and let us know so that we can go ahead and go through the process to get everything rectified for you. One of the options is you can call our customer service at 313-933-1300, or you can email us at Ddot, TITLE, the number 6 at DetroitMI.gov. That's Ddot Title 6, the number 6 at DetroitMI.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Those are all the departments that I had listed on the agenda. If I missed anyone or if any other department would like to speak, you can do so at this time. Please let me know. If not, we'll go ahead and move now to our community comments. Reminder, if you would like to speak, just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll just do it, not necessarily in order, just as we see it. So just keep your hand raised until we can get to you. If you're on the phone, we ask that you dial *9 so that we can see your hand raised. And with that, we'll see if we have any questions or comments. We did not receive any ahead of time, so we will do our best to answer those tonight. And if not, we will follow up with you at a later time. See a hand raised.
Okay.
Do they know they're on?
Was
Hello?
anybody moved yet?
I don't know if y'all got my line and it said I was unmuted, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to speak or y'all had me ready to speak.
No, I didn't realize you moved. So yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, God, everyone's hearing this. Okay, I apologize. Hi, my name is Bernard Mashensky. I'm the Transit Justice Organizer with the Detroit People's Platform Transit Justice Team. I just wanted to convey concerns from members of the transit right community here. Specifically, senior citizens have some concerns about how they'll apply for the reduced Ddot fare, but I honestly think that that's a non-issue at this point now that I realize because there's no fares, but I at least wanted to raise the question and build. I know that the department.
You're starting to break up.
Frequent lines. Hello?
Okay, it broke up. We'll try.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll repeat myself. Can you all hear me?
We hear you now.
My other concern, other than if we get back into fare collection or just think about, because there's concern that there's not a lot of places or opportunities for seniors to apply for that designation. But I'm going to go to my other concern, which is more pressing. It's encouraging to hear, again, from the department that they want to increase frequently on the main route to get us fit, but I'm concerned how is that going to work with neighborhood routes like Plymouth or 6 Mile or Conant and others that have had severe reduction in service due to drivers not enough drivers, things that are going on. How are you going to ensure frequent service to keep people distanced on the buses? Because people are sitting next to each other still. And then can we get increases in bus service to the neighborhoods? Because that is the purpose. If someone has to wait 45 minutes on like a school crash and they're trying to get to Grand River, what good is that? So there has to be a different way that the buses are dispatched. So if they get full, as indicated on marquee, there should be another bus coming within like 5 to 10 minutes. So most of my comment is going to be based on frequency. Has the department created a new plan? And then is there an opportunity for community to kind of offer ideas in a workshop type of thing like Ddot used to do when they engaged the community, had people come in and they'll look at a route and that. Is there a way that we can have a co-creation sort of solution on how to increase our buses back to pre-COVID levels with some adaptations. And then I want to continue. I hope that Ddot continues, even when this crisis abates, to maintain the COVID-style boarding, so people that are boarding into the bus will.
We're starting to lose you again, but that's about. I think we should pause so someone can address maybe like those first two.
Oh, I was always okay for sure. And I wanted to say too, just to go back to say that we want to maintain COVID-style boarding even as the crisis starts to abate as well. So I'll just yield back so people.
Okay, so I'm going to start at the bottom and work upward because my memory is not that great, so I can only remember the first one while I think Larry starts correcting the other portions. But the COVID-style boarding, okay. When you say COVID-style boarding, for those out there, is talking about entering from the rear of the vehicle. Well, the reason why we're doing that is because we can't collect fares and for social distancing from the driver. That was the original reason, and that's why the distance from the driver back is roughly 10 feet. The intent and the goal is to continue to do that until we come up with a solution for fare collection. And we don't see that anytime in the near future. As a matter of fact, even after we install barriers in the beginning of next year, that does not mean that we're going to start boarding from the front without coming up with some type of solution. What it will do is it'll free up that additional 10 feet for additional available seats. And then that'll help with the social distancing part. So right now, we will continue with the COVID style, as you say, boarding. Now, when we get to the point that it is safe to collect fares, and again, I'm not telling you that it's going to happen anytime soon, but when it gets to that point, then there'll be no need for entering from the rear of the vehicle for everybody. But right now, we're going to continue that. As far as the other portion of what to do with the routes, I'll let Larry Smith jump in on that, but I will say that what you have to realize is we're dealing with supply and demand. So clearly right now the demand is more than what we can supply. Not necessarily, it's not just because of the amount of drivers that we have, but the demand is so spread out, it's really hard to target and make everyone happy. We're currently working on our next, we're working on a format and a route layout that will be more efficient, but there's no guarantee that everybody will be happy. The only way everybody will be happy is we have 477 drivers who are running full service, and even then, that doesn't take into consideration the social distancing of only allowing 10 people per bus versus 40. I mean, we're going to have that problem until we get away from the social distancing issue of sitting every other seat. So I anticipate that we're not going to stop seeing a crowding problem. But the only way you can do it is add more service and add more vehicles. I mean, it's that simple. Condense the quality of what you have and then add more vehicles. And if you really think about it, if you can only allow 10 people per bus when you used to allow 40, what we're saying is when we come to a bus stop when there's 40 people, we need to have 4 buses, one after the other, just to clear out people at that one bus stop. So supply and demand. Larry, I didn't know if you wanted to add to that.
Absolutely. And to your point, what you brought up is exactly the discussions that are going on behind the scenes right now, and not just the discussions, but implementing the plan going forward. Because we do have a certain amount of picks that are allotted per year, in which we can kind of change out how the drivers are facilitating the service that you all receive. Plan is being implemented right now, and we're kind of going through. We are kind of, instead of plugging and playing as you guys see out there, whether we're sending a bus to an area where there's overcrowding, we are working to where our schedule actually facilitates that and it's actually built in, as opposed to being reactionary and you all happen to call and say, hey, I'm waiting, or calling and saying, hey, the bus was overcrowded, I was passed up. We're trying to build this into the schedule And so that way it will allow us to kind of be a little more, not so much reactive, but being proactive with having the buses there in time for you guys. And so literally what you discussed on, of course, it's not enough to just focus on those high impact lines when we are aware that the neighborhood lines feed into those high impact lines. So it isn't just enough, I agree with you, it isn't just enough to place all of the emphasis on those high impact lines where there is overcrowding, which again, that is an issue as well, but it makes no, it doesn't do enough for us to put all of our emphasis there when the others that are trying to get to those lines are feeder routes, the neighborhood routes where you all have to get to work as well. The service isn't sufficient there. So to what you've spoken of, that is something that is taking place right now. We are building out how that would look going forward. And you will see, peripherally, you will see that change within the next coming weeks. Again, as I stated during my update, within the coming weeks, that should be, you would allow to see an improvement in that area for you all.
And if I could just add to that for a second, because I think it's important, once you have a schedule that's pretty much a base, it's easier to follow. Instead of just having to go to the transit app, will be able to not only put it on the website, but have a brochure that actually says this is what our intended service is. As far as community input, we always take community input. As a matter of fact, we're doing it right now, but more importantly, the complaints that come through customer service are part of that scheduling process. The statistics that show boardings that are overcrowded are part of this process. And I can assure you that when we cross-check it, the complaints match our statistics that show that there's overboarding at a certain time on a certain route. I mean, if it just matches, it's just the way it is. So we do have all of the tools to do our job. If it gets to a point that we need more community input, yes, we could go to the other structure, but right now we're trying to take it to the next level, and to do it take it to the next level is done with statistics. That's it.
Okay, and I think we've covered everything with that round, and you can always come back. I'm going to move on to our next person. They're listed as Symbiosis Revolution, so I'm going to go ahead and move them. Give me one moment. And you can unmute yourself and let us know who you are.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was still logged in as with another organization's account. My name is Mason. I'm with the bus riders group, the Motor City Freedom Riders. And it's really encouraging to hear that you're planning to move away from the reactive approach of relying on reports of overcrowding to distribute more service, because I think it's clear that that approach really has not worked. I just wanted to let you know that we've been collecting reports from riders who've been, texting into a number to report overcrowding, so we can track it. And some of the findings from that have been really disturbing, especially on Woodward. This past week we had half a dozen different riders report that the buses were 2 to a seat, standing room only, completely packed. And I mean, that's just a transmission nightmare. And so I think there's there needs to be a lot more political will behind marshaling the resources for dramatically expanding service frequency, because this is just a super dangerous situation, and missing buses and diminished services is making all of it a lot worse. We'd be happy to share some of this data that we've been collecting with you as well, if you think that would be in any way helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, by all means. If what I'll do is I'll send you my email address here. I'll put it in the chat information here. If you wanted to share that with us, I can also I can funnel that up to Mr. Oglesby.
Yeah, absolutely. And is the caller still on the air? You still there? Okay, when you say more political will, what do you mean by that? I'm kind of confused.
Well, for example, back in the spring, there was billions of dollars distributed to transit agencies in order to keep them afloat during the pandemic. And lots of cities use that to, provide PPE for drivers, physical barriers, and also like maintaining service levels so that you could have fewer people on each vehicle. In Detroit, as I understand it, the budget response from the city instead was to say that, well, DDOT's well funded now by this federal grant, so we'll pluck 20 million from the budget in order to patch it up in other places like the police department or whatnot. And I think that's reflective of some really poor priorities, and that given what we're seeing with overcrowding today, probably will cost lives too.
Well, understood. That makes sense, the way that you put it, but I don't think that's necessarily the way it took place. I know that $20 million was plucked from the 64 million that went directly to DDOT and went towards revenues to be able to run the service for free and allow rear door boarding. The city taking money from DDOT, I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to look into that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments and thank you for providing that data. I also want to encourage you to have those writers as well. As we mentioned before, so we can have more real-time information, be properly investigated to also provide any of those type of complaints to customer service. I'm going to move now to Rochelle Stewart. I'm going to allow her to also give a moment to move her over. And once you're in, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. And
can you hear me?
hear you.
Okay, my name is Rochelle Stewart. I'm with Detroit People's Platform Transit Justice Team, and I was calling today on the issue of Metrolift, Freedom Ride, and reduced fare cards for disabled veterans and whatnot. It's hard for anybody to get in and get their cards renewed at this time, and I was wondering if there's some way that you could, with people that got permanent reduced fare cards for each one of them, Metrolift, Freedom Ride, and Ddot. Is it a way that you could, extend the time in between them renewing? Because it's hard for a lot of us senior citizens, veterans, to get in and renew those cards, at the times that you want us to do them. And I was thinking maybe somehow or another, if it wasn't the ones that's temporary disabled or whatever, if you could do something to make a longer time or make a permanent for people that's permanently disabled, that they don't have to keep renewing it like that. Maybe every 5 or 6 years, renew it with a new picture or something, but that's really extremely hard for people that can't get around and get out. So I was just putting that to y'all to see if, you could do something about that.
Okay, during this time, there is no pictures being taken. You're riding with the same, actually you're not paying anything as far as riding the city buses and as far as Metrolift.
I know that, but I'm talking about in the future, once this is,
I'm sorry.
It's kind of hard for people. I mean, I have COPD and different things. And I know they have other issues that, it's hard for them to get. Maybe they don't have somebody to bring them, or whatever. I'm saying, not just now, I'm talking about into the future, because it's hard for elderly people and people that's disabled to get out there and get that done. If it's be able to get it done through maybe computerized, or they call over the phone, or some other way, so that they don't have to, be in and out every 2 years trying to get a card renewed.
Ms. Stewart, I will look into this and I'll try to get back with you at the next meeting, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm going to move now to Larry Verse. Okay, Larry, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, well, let me preface my question. Well, first, I'm Larry Donald Verse, Detroit People's Platform, Transit Justice Team. And let me preface my question with this. It's my understanding that this is going to last for a while. And B, afterwards, there's probably going to be a significant economic turndown, which means that jobs will be at a premium. So I'm anticipating that Ddot will not have a whole lot of problem getting drivers at that time. But in the meantime, is there a possibility or a probability that Ddot could work out an agreement with SMART where it's buses that used to pass through the city and some that didn't could come through the city and pick up some of the slack by stopping and picking up and letting off riders at Ddot bus stops. And in turn, Ddot might extend its route to some places where it run parallel to or along the same track as SMART, since they have significantly reduced their routes and their timing. Is that possible? Could something be worked out in the near future? Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak on his comments at this time or able to?
If no one will say anything, let me just say a couple of things that I think that's creative. I don't know how realistic it is. And the reason why is because SMART, while running their reduced service, was only running 30% of their service. Now that they've amped up their service, they're only running 60% of their service. That equals our Saturday schedule that wasn't working, right? So they don't even have enough service to run their own system. In addition, I had a conversation with the CEO not too long ago, as a matter of fact, 15 minutes before I got onto this, where he is having problems getting drivers. So he's short drivers himself, so he can't even make his 60%. I think one of the reasons why it's not as noticeable for them is because one of the reasons why we're having overcrowding is because we are picking up their riders, right? So we're picking up their riders. We're trying to maintain what we're doing. I had this conversation with him. He needs to amp up the transit on his end a little bit. We do work together and we do talk together. I'm going to talk to him about this concept to see what he thinks. I'm guessing he's already going to say that he can't even provide transit for what he wants, but it may be an opportunity for us to work together. So I'll take this concept back to him and talk to him about it. But again, they're running very lean themselves right now.
Okay. Was there anyone other questions tonight? I don't see any hand raised. Okay, there we go. Thought that seemed unusual. Okay, Claire, let me move you over.
Hello, it's Claire from Transportation Riders United. I just had a quick question.
We can't hear you, Claire.
No, can't hear her.
We can't hear you, Claire. Is there?
It's a connection.
Yeah, we could try again, and then the chat is available too.
I'll type in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, the Wi-Fi has been not amazing over here today. I just had a quick question. I was wondering if, Michael, could you please reiterate what you said about drivers and masks earlier? I missed part of that and I was curious. Thank you.
No, I'm kidding. Of course I can. I know Claire, we know each other well, but at this point we've seen each other in so many Zooms. Okay, Claire, well, the union has been complaining, and to tell you the truth, rightfully so. I'm complaining, so we're both complaining, so I won't say the union. We are complaining that we need to get these barriers, and we need to get these barriers in immediately. I think the issue is that going through the procurement process, it takes a little while, and even if we are doing it as fast as we can, the earliest we can get them in, we projected when we first started this was in January. Well, I'm saying the first of the year, but hopefully January timeframe. Hindsight's 2020. This should have been worked on before I got here, but the second I got here, this is what we're doing and this is what we are. There was some confusion about face shields that we had promised that everybody gets face shields. What my opinion on that, and that was brought to me last night, and I was actually surprised, was that was mentioned from the health department in general. If you wanted a face shield, you could go in, and then they were demonstrating how to do it on the same day that we were announcing trying to fix some of the overcrowding and the headway issues. And we also announced the driver barrier. So I think that all got lumped together. With that being said, I do think it's an interesting concept, and I know that SMART gives the drivers their opportunity to either use a mask or a face shield. I personally am concerned about a face shield while driving because the contour could do some things to peripheral vision, and the level that the face shield comes down, turning right to left driving, I'm not a big fan. Possibly giving the face shields out to have them during their spread at a split time may make sense if you want to walk around. There are some people that just can't have a mask on all the time, and I understand that. But the face shield is something new that just came to me last night, and we're thinking about what to do. I mean, we have face shields already. We have access to plenty of face shields. I'm not a big fan of people driving with that. If you have, for example, SMART has a temporary barrier that they're putting up, which is plastic, and then they're putting a face shield on the person too. I just don't see from a driver's standpoint how that's even safe or possible to do. So I know Pam was a driver at one point. She's shaking her head, oh, that ain't gonna work. To me, that's like putting Vaseline over your eyes and trying to drive. So I just don't see that. But back to the barriers. We're pushing hard. We're going to get the barriers in. We have the funding. That's not the problem. The problem is once you get done with the procurement process, it takes about 4 months to install them in 288 buses. You do 2 a night, you can do the calculation. So we're just pushing along, and I think what's happening is the drivers are upset because they want them faster, and understood, but we can only move as fast as we can.
Thank you for your question and your answers there. I think we're okay to move on to the next person. Jacqueline Austin. You can go ahead and should be able to unmute yourself now.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Austin. I'm with here in lieu of Detroit People's Platform. And I had a couple of questions. One would be the ADA fares and non-visible entry on the bus. Myself being part of the ADA community, I ride the bus. And I was told, and I wanted a little more confirmation on if at this point, since there's no fares and when the fares will be restored. I'm hearing you guys are allocating that the end of this month to restore the fares. In the meantime, I still have to enter the bus from the rear with a non-visible disability. And wanted to know, is it any way that I can still ride the bus in the front with my ADA community individuals in the front and not board in the back. Also, I'm glad the officer is here to answer maybe questions regarding safety for the bus driver and the riders, considering the fact that are the cameras working at all in case there an incident is to happen, considering now that everyone is required to wear their face mask. So if anybody would love to touch on that. And also I just wanted to just add a quick comment. I really appreciate as a rider that we refrain from narratives and negative narratives as they speak to the ridership of Detroit, myself being one of them, because in this time it's hard for everybody. So in my opinion, just mine alone, that we, appreciate our ridership and that we do not spin narratives around the masks, that they're being stolen or whatever the case is. I bought enough masks to where I don't take a mask that I don't need. But you do have people that because of COVID, they're getting out and they are, this stay at home thing is getting next to people and they have to ride, whether it's essential or not. But I do appreciate what you're doing now. I just look that we spin away from that narrative and that we just get the ball rolling and move forward in that aspect. So if someone can answer that for me, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
If I can have the opportunity, I'll address Ms. Austin in regards to the safety concerns that she has with the drivers and the riding passengers. During this entire ordeal, we have not reduced our boardings for our officers at all. We are continually boarding the buses. We have anywhere from 2 to 4 cars out on any given shift, and the officers are boarding the buses throughout the entire city. We've not changed what their requirements are for boarding the buses. So we are hoping we could board every bus, but with manpower, we are boarding as many buses that we have. We are boarding almost 700 buses a week. I'm very pleased with those numbers, and our officers are continually getting on and off the buses at a very appreciated clip, if you will. The videos are working. We routinely identify persons of interest for the Detroit Police Department that are committing crimes not only on our buses, but also crimes within the city of Detroit, and then boarding our buses after the crime. So the video systems are working very well. We're not having too many problems with that at all. So I hope that addresses your concerns.
And if I can add to that part too, great job, by the way. If I can add to that as it pertains to the cameras, I mean, the reality is also that the camera systems are old and sometimes they fail us, right? It happens. I want to let you know that I've already put in motion the goal of replacing the cameras with an entirely new system. So that's going to take some time. But I've already put it out there. I've talked to procurement. I've had a bunch of people basically applaud me when I said that. So now I really have to do it. But I just want to add to that they're working the best that they can, as mentioned. But we do want to upgrade the system because, it's like any other technology. There's new stuff out there, right? So we might as well take advantage.
It sounded like there was a little miscommunication regarding the fare. Can someone address that?
It looks like, I think the question of the fare was, that we're going to collect fares.
Coming next month or something.
That's not true. So we are not going to be collecting fares at the end of the month. As a matter of fact, we don't have a date we're going to collect fares. It's really linked to A, the dividers, and B, how to collect fares safely, because you can't touch a fare box and then every person boarding is going to touch the fare box. How do you clean it? So we're actually looking at some other alternatives on how to pay. But another thing that was mentioned too was entering from the front I guess apparently this has been a problem that was brought to me just recently, that there are people with non-visible disabilities being denied to be able to enter from the front of the bus. So I have staff looking into that right now. I haven't got the response yet, but I just heard this a few days ago. So we are looking at that and addressing that. But there's one thing that was mentioned, and then staff can also jump on the other things about negative narrative. The intent to provide certain information sometimes has unintended consequences. The reality is that we put boxes on the bus and they get taken. That doesn't mean we don't continue to put them on. We say that so that we can have people, if they see something, say something. Help us. That's what we're saying. All we're saying is if you see someone taking a box, you just say, hey, look, you only take one. So we don't want to get away from the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. It's not negative narrative. Our intent is not to make it a negative, but it's happening and it's costing us money. And more importantly, it's taking away from another rider that needs the mask. So all we're saying is, look, this is the honor system. We're all on board. This is happening. Help us stop it. That's what we're saying. We're not saying, oh, well, people are out there stealing and people in Detroit stealing. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is the reality is it's costing us money, and we're trying to get through this pandemic together. So I really think it's important that you know that portion, and we're going to keep trying to spin the positive narrative on it, but we're going to tell the truth.
Thank you for that. Did anybody else have anything to add?
I do, because I see Larry Smith. For some reason, he's not connected, because we met with Mr. Smith in operations, and we've had those complaints about being disabled or ADA and not being able to board at the front of the coach. If you let that driver know that you need to board it, like you need to coach lowered. I mean, a wheelchair is really obvious, but you need it lowered. I'm sure that driver, it is in their policy that you will board up at the front of the coach. You may not sit. It depends on how far away you are from the driver and who else is up there, but you have to let the driver know. I understand you're going to board from the back, but as they're boarding from the back, you just step to the front door and let them know. Because otherwise they don't know.
Yes. Well, and just one more too, because I was at another community meeting to add to that I guess apparently some people were showing their card. You can't see, it's non-visible, but they were showing their card and they were being denied. So I'm having that being investigated and looked at. But Pamela's right at the layout of the way it's supposed to be. And if it isn't happening, we're going to change that. So I think together we're going to change that to make sure that the right things happen. We're monitoring it as you speak.
Thank you for that clarification. I see a hand raised. Oh, we got it. Is there anyone from the community, anybody else that would like to add another question? We're looking good on time, so you have another opportunity to ask one more question if you like. Please raise your hands at this time. Clear. Moving over.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Lieutenant Arnold. I saw that the new Ddot security cameras I saw in the chat won't be tied into Project Greenlight. Will they have like other facial recognition features?
Not that I know of. I know our current technology does not have the facial recognition features, and our bus cameras are not tied into Project Greenlight. I don't know if the new upgrades will, but I can tell you our current upgrades do not have facial recognition features, and we are not tied in to Project Greenlight on our buses.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
And I want to add to that, as we move forward with our procurement, that's not something we're really interested in. So put that out there.
That's good to hear. We've all heard the news stories lately about how that works out for people in practice. So
Understood. That's not our thing.
thank you. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. All right, and we have one last question from Mr. Larry. Okay, and you are available to speak when you're ready.
Okay, I can be heard, I presume.
Yes.
Okay, my question is not COVID related per se. Actually, not at all. And the question is, have you considered and I'm assuming you probably have, seeking the grants for the electric buses and the grant for either building or refurbishing something to maintain them in the future?
Elias, you want that one?
Yeah. Last year, we joined forces with SMART, and we actually did apply to the Federal Transit Administration for funding to purchase 2 electric buses and some charging equipment for them. And we won the award, so SMART and Ddot will be getting a couple of electric buses each, and we will be piloting that. And, you know, it's still a new technology. It's still, you know, in cold weather, there are all sorts of different things that need to be figured out. So we're hoping to get those in the next couple of years and kind of figure out how to expand from there.
Right. Thank you, Elias. And if I can add to that, you know, in public transportation in the United States, electric vehicles are the wave of the future. It appears as if it's really big in the California area, but part of that is because it's easier to run from the standpoint of weather, right? So that's probably one of the reasons why you see a lot of green footprint type things. Here, I think it's a great opportunity not only to move forward for ourselves, but to look at our partners and look at the car industry and all these other industries that get on board to look at a complete footprint of Detroit to decide which way we're going to go, especially from the electric standpoint. I mean, it doesn't make sense if we go all electric and then you have diesel trucks pulling up next to us polluting the air. Really, that's what, right? So we need to get everybody on board with this. I think it's a great opportunity. The pilot program hopefully goes well. I know a lot about alternate fuel vehicles and electric vehicles. I do not know how they perform in the snow, but we're going to learn, aren't we? And as we move forward to see how it works, we're going to be reaching out. And if it looks like it's something that makes sense, we'll start looking at which way the future of our fleet's gonna appear. But we're really excited about this opportunity, and we're gonna be letting people know that these electric buses are out there. Tell us what you think.
I certainly will.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Larry. Okay, I'm allowed from the phone to talk. You can go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Hi, good evening. I hope you can all still hear me. I'll be brief because we're almost at the end of this meeting. My name is Bernard. To the director, I'm very encouraged to hear that there's going to be some sort of like intentional plan on how to deploy the 2 electric coaches that are coming. As someone myself that is passionate about clean energy, reducing our carbon footprint, I also want to offer an idea with the current coaches that Ddot has. I used to live in Ann Arbor, and they were very similar to the coaches that we have. I can't confirm the same model, but they put the battery packs on top of them to lower emissions. So I think the buses, when they went 30 miles per hour or underneath, they were not actually emitting any carbon into the air of that. And I just wanted to throw support in my encouragement for coming up with a solution on how to deploy those electric buses, so that they maybe they're on some travel routes through the neighborhoods or other areas where there are large populations, and we can begin reducing emissions across the city. So I'm very encouraged to hear that the department is going to be deploying these as soon as possible, and it has my full support.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your support, and the electric vehicle has come a long way. The type of batteries that are available now weren't available in the past. That's why you had all these hybrids like hydrogen hybrid and CNG hybrid. But now an electric vehicle can go 250 miles in a day, just like a regular vehicle. So I'm told. But I always say to Larry Luckett, my head of maintenance, we're going to find out very quickly, aren't we? But yes, we look forward to that. The location of the battery, I mean, it depends on which bus you have. I believe we're getting 60-foot articulated New Flyers. Isn't that right, Elias? The New Flyer? I think they are.
Our 40-foot Proterra buses.
Oh, Proterras, that's right. That's right. I was already shopping for my next one, because I used to actually have those 60-foot. But yeah, Proterra's been in the business for a long period of time. They started out with something called microwave technology, which the name really didn't go over, so they changed it. Obviously, who wants to be microwaved while they're in a bus being charged? But yeah, Proterra's been around a long time. Foothill Transit in California has been running them. We know all of their statistics. We look forward to getting data and then contribute it back to them to see how things go. We share data, so we'll see how it works out.
Right, thank you. I have a note, compliance. Brian, you have another comment you need to make?
Yes. The last thing that I wanted to state is that Ddot Compliance and Ddot as a whole wanted to make sure that we have community input. So we'll be putting out our Title VI plan, the draft, for our community to actually give us some ideas as you're able to go over it. The way that we want the way that we would like for you to connect with us is to email d.title6@detroitmi.gov, and we'll respond back to you with the Title VI plan. This will be the draft, because before we submit it, we would like to get some community input. So as soon as we get those emails from you, we'll be responding back with that Title VI plan. And then 2 weeks after that, please get that back to us if possible. Once again, that'll be at d.title6@detroitmi.gov email address for the Title VI plan. We would like to hear the community before we submit it. Thank you.
Is that Title VI the number 6, or?
Yes, the number 6.
Everyone has it correct. Okay. Thank you for that information. So people, please take advantage of that. Last call for anyone who has not spoken tonight. If you are one of our guests, if you have not got a chance to speak, please raise your hand now. Caller, you can go ahead and talk.
Hi, my name is Norma Powell, and I'm a member of the Detroit People Platform. I just have a quick question. I used to take the express bus on Grand River. I think it's the 92 Express. Are the express buses running? Because lately I've just been riding my bike. I live downtown now, riding my bike everywhere. But are the express buses back on? Thank you.
Thank you.
I can address that one. At this time, they are not. Those have been trying to be restored on a speed basis. But as you can imagine, as we reiterated with the different issues that we are having with trying to make sure our manpower is allocated where it needs to go, the express routes at this time are not consistently running. They are running on an as-need basis.
Okay, I have a friend. She lives in Rosedale Park. Her son is going to CAS now, And I invited her to the call, but she wasn't able to attend, so I wanted to give her an update. So there's no 92 Express. If the kids go back to CAS in the fall, that probably will be an issue. She'll need to find another way to get him there, correct?
Well, like I said, at this time, they aren't running. But of course, once the fall gets here, then we're getting into more of that peak fall situation in which there are options in which we can reinstate that. But at this time, it is not currently running. Once school is, of course, as you know, during the summertime, we have that school is out schedule kind of thing running there where we're not amping up as much of the manpower in those areas. We will be affecting the schools, students that need to ride. But once the fall time gets here, that's when we will be looking back at that. And that's when you will see that they possibly will be restored. So I wouldn't give a definite that no, it is not going to be restored at that time. But of course, that is something that we would look at. And if it is applicable that it needs to be restored at that time, it will definitely take place.
Yeah.
Right, and we could talk about it next month. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and let me just add to that, point taken. We're in the process of looking at the schedule, so we're going to take your comments and take them to heart as we move forward and look into this and look to see if there are any other demand to maybe be able to tweak things here or there. But as Larry said, right now, that's not on our radar. We have some really, really big fish to fry right now, but that doesn't mean it's any less important. So as like Larry said, what we're really hoping is that we set a schedule up. And then as we set the schedule up based on the number of drivers available, we get more drivers. And as we get more drivers, then we can adjust the schedule upward. When I say upward, with more frequency and with more opportunities with some of the routes that we had to reduce. So just stay tuned. All we say is just check back next month, check our website, and check after we do our next run.
Okay, I appreciate those answers. I just want to give her some information. She had questions about safety. This is the first time he's at CAS. I told her the buses are pretty safe. They have police officers on them. She asked about windows. Not to give you guys another question, but if the windows are open, if she gives her son a mask, she's thinking about the virus. Is there a mandatory closing of windows, a mandatory opening of windows? And I told her I don't think that's an issue at all. I mean, I think if you're sitting on the bus and you want a window open, I mean, by all means, open it. That's correct, right?
Yeah, I'll address that issue. Yes, we don't have any mandate through the Transit Police Department whether or not windows need to be open or windows need to be closed. I can tell you right now, we've not had any calls to our buses on an open window or a closed window. It's not been a problem to us. And yes, I can assure you, I believe the buses are very safe, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like a little clarity was needed from Brian regarding the email. I may have missed, was there, they're asking about what it needs to be addressed to. Do they just, there you go.
Okay, so with the email, once you send it directly there, just say in there from the community input meeting, and I'll know directly that you're talking about the Title VI plan, and I'll send the draft to you. So just say from the community input meeting, and because it comes directly to me and to my boss, Ms. Alicia Miller, and we'll know exactly that is for the Title VI plan.
Thank you. Also want to remind people, everyone, of our survey, our customer survey that's still live. The link is now in chat. So if you filled it out already, please also share with anyone you know. So we definitely want to continue to get that feedback. So again, the link's in the chat if you don't have it. At this time, we are wrapping up. Is there any other departments that would like to say any last words?
Yes, if I could, I was disconnected, and this is to, I believe it's Miss Jacqueline Austin. She was the ADA passenger that was speaking to not being able to board the front because her ADA is not visible. I was trying to email you, and of course I got disconnected during that time frame. So I apologize if I'm about to say anything that was redundant that may have been addressed by Mr. Oglesby or by Pamela King. But another option that you do have, I'm gonna put my email into the comments. because this week, operations as well as our compliance team had a very comprehensive meeting to kind of offer some transparency and address the issues that the ADA having about being passed up, about not being allowed to board at the front. That is an issue that was brought to our attention. So we got together on a Zoom, all of the leaders between both departments to kind of what we could do going forward to address this issue. Because of course it's not enough to just be there for the wheelchair community, but it also is to you with a disability that is not visible. And so with our drivers not know the difference between the two, what we would like for you to do is I'm going to put my email here. And I would like for you to be able to contact me and give me your contact information, because what we do have is we have yellow mitts that we can provide to you. So when a driver is driving and you hold up your hand with that yellow mitt, it will signal for them to pull over and allow you to board at the front. They are familiar with that mitt. It is something implemented in the past, and I believe that going forward with it, we can assist you better with that. So I will put my email address in here because we have a plenty of those mitts still available. And again, our drivers are aware of that. If your disability is not visible, you can hold up your hand with that yellow mitt and it will signal for the drivers to stop and pull over and to assist you better. And I do see you just put your number in there. So you can expect a call from me right after we get off this Zoom call, so I can kind of get some better information, as well as to let you know that the drivers that have been identified as being the offenders of this have been disciplined. Again, I can't stress that enough. And no, you do not have to purchase the mittens. No, you do not. Okay. No, you do not have to purchase those. So those are at free of charge. Okay. But again, the drivers as well as other staff members that have been giving out wrong information to passengers were disciplined on last week, the ones that were found to be at fault. So that's why we say we encourage you guys to call us, because again, we can't correct something that we don't know. So as long as you are calling and making us aware, we will do our best effort to make sure that the ones that are in the wrong are definitely disciplined and this behavior does not continue.
Thank you for that great information, great additional information. Anyone else? Coming up on that time, and it was like, all right. Well, I'll wrap things up. I just want to thank everyone again for taking the time to come out tonight. As always, we value your feedback, your input. You know, as you see, we hope that we are trying to make those changes that you are providing us, and that we're working on those that we haven't been able to get to yet. Our next meeting is set for August 20th, Thursday, same time, 5 p.m. And as things continue, looks like we will be back on Zoom. Everyone, please stay safe. Remember to wear those masks when you're riding the bus. That's all I have.
All right.
All right. God bless everyone. Stay safe.
Until next time.
Have a good night, everyone. Thanks.
Good night. Stay safe.